made him look really shaky in this game?
Got tough as attrition set in, but such is life, man, in the NFL. We accept responsibility for that and get ready for our next opportunity.
I love when it's hot. Turn to the city, I broke all the night.
Give us the broader view of what you've seen, things that concern you with the Steelers the last two games when they've dropped them both.
They need to catch the ball better. But the thing for me offensively, when I look at Pittsburgh, they're not running the football.
Stephon Diggs, what does he do to the Bills' offense, improving it?
It's kind of been a perfect marriage there in Buffalo.
I run it like Nike, we got it on lock. Everything litty, I love when it's hot. Turn to the city, I broke all the
A perfect marriage indeed. Good Monday morning. Let me run through some numbers before we get to the fellas and their weekend thoughts, and then some more numbers. The Bills, a 99% chance to win the AFC East after their big win over the Steelers. The Packers, 100% to win the NFC North. The Chiefs, 100% to win the AFC West. Oh, by the way, we've got new conference leaders on this Monday morning, and the worst team, the worst division in football, has a new best team. And with that, we welcome you to Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin, presented by Progressive Insurance. Fellas, how was the weekend? Let's weigh in, and then we'll weigh in on another crazy NFL weekend.
It was good. The weekend was great. I, watched a lot of whatever little college football was on. Had opportunity to see my Trojans take down the Bruins. We have that legitimate argument, just like everybody else now, that we want to be in the college football playoff. And then we turn the page to the National Football League. Yes, and it was cold this weekend to me.
It was 58 degrees this weekend up here, man. Come on, Key, that's not cold. I'll tell you this. So we cut down a Christmas tree, Zubin, which is really cool. I had to actually cut down my own Christmas tree. Never done that before. Got really pumped up with some spiked eggnog. And then I walked in the door at home and I saw LSU beat Florida. And I was like, well, welcome to 2020. Just continues to cement that we're still in 2020.
No doubt about it. That was one of the wildest endings of the weekend. We'll get to that in just a little bit. The coaching carousel in college football also swirling. National Signing Day early is Wednesday, so a lot of clubs, a lot of programs that need coaches need to fill them quick to make sure those kids can get in there. But let's go from the kids to the men. Key, let's talk about it. Sunday Night Football, as I mentioned, Buffalo wins. They've got a 99% chance to win the AFC East. It would be their first division title in a quarter century. But I want to focus on the other team just for a moment. Not a Buffalo buzzkill at all. But Pittsburgh actually backed their way into the playoffs yesterday, if there's such a thing at backing in at 11-2. They actually got into the postseason before they took the field Sunday night. They dropped their second in a row. And I gave you all those numbers, 99, 100. By the way, Stephon Diggs has 100 catches this year. Don't scale it from 0 to 100. Scale it from 1 to 10. Your level of concern for the Pittsburgh Steelers after their second straight shaky performance.
Well, there is some concern, Zubin. I think when you look at where they're at, where they started at, they were an 11-0 football team. They've lost 2 straight games now. And so as you start to think about moving forward, they've got to figure out what that running game is about. Like, they need some help in terms of running the football. Defensively, I think they held up as best they could. But from an offensive standpoint, Ben Roethlisberger cannot be Big Ben if they don't have a running game to match the passing game. I think when you look at Washington and you look at Johnson and Juju and Claypool, yes, they're young, dynamic receivers. But if they don't have a running game to match the style of which they want to play, then this is going to be very difficult for them to be able to move forward come playoff time. Right now, it's sitting at 11-2 with 2 straight losses. A lot of people are not starting to say now, taking them out of the conversation as the second best team in the AFC. There's a team in Buffalo, which they played. There's a Tennessee Titan team. And, oh, by the way, there's the Indianapolis Colts with a resurgence at quarterback in Phillip Rivers. So as you start to look at where they're at, it's just, and I know Mike Tomlin wants to run the ball. And he's going to try to certainly get it fixed, but they better hurry up and fix it before it's too late.
Key, I'll say this. We should start throwing the Browns in that conversation, too. We'll get a chance to see them tonight and how they perform if Baker Mayfield continues to play at that high level. But I walked away last night thinking that the Bills were the second best team in the AFC. And just to finish off the comments that Key said about the Steelers and their running game, they rushed for 47 yards. 47 yards. The game against the Washington football team, they rushed for 21 yards. Look, one of the things I think that made Tampa Bay look better the other day is that they actually were able to stick to the ground game and they allowed play action. And I think when you can't do that for Big Ben, then it makes him very one-dimensional. And look, let's be honest about it. Big Ben is an immobile quarterback. He can't move in the pocket and do those things. He needs play action. He needs the run game to help take this team to the next level. I think their defense is still good, but their offense just struggles. I don't think they're still kind of in that top.
Here's Big Ben on whether what they are running on offense is become too obvious.
You know what? Defenses can play pass if you can't run the ball. So we need to do better at being a more balanced offense, and we need to do better at executing the plays that are called.
Okay,
yeah,
Key, let me ask you this. That's the words of Ben Roethlisberger. Yeah. There was so much talk about the other quarterback last night, Josh Allen. Look, to me, tell me if this is fair or not. For the work that Josh Allen has done and the improvements he's made, I've mentioned Stephon Diggs last night with a bunch of great catches. He's now got 100 grabs. That leads the NFL. If he catches one more ball this year, it'll be the Bills' single-season record. I'm sure you remember the guy that set the mark, the great Eric Moulds. It seems hard to believe this guy has never made the Pro Bowl, Stephon Diggs. How much, and I'm not taking anything away from Allen and the work that he's put in year to year, but how much of his success can be put on the one guy, maybe the biggest offseason acquisition for any team at that position?
Well, I think Brandon Beane, general manager of the Buffalo Bills, got it right. When he made the decision to trade for Stephon Diggs, it was the right thing to do. You got a young quarterback, and I always say you always want to have a young quarterback with a dynamic receiver opposite him. In terms of the Pro Bowl, whatever. I mean, that thing is watered down nowadays anyway. I think when you look at some of the NFC guys and the Julio Joneses and the Michael Thomases and the Larry Fitzgeralds, guys that have consistently gone to the Pro Bowl out of that particular conference, it was going to be very tough for Stephon Diggs to get to the Pro Bowl. Now that he's in AFC side, it's a little easier. The deck is not as stacked. So, you know, he'll get his opportunity to, as we like to say, or we used to like to say when it was in Hawaii, to eat pineapple. And so I think that'll happen for him at some point in time, and he'll probably get his first nod this year, although the game will not be played.
Key, I'll tell you this, watching the game last night, watching the way that Josh Allen and he worked in the second half. I mean, look, in the second half, he reeled off for 7 catches, 6 were in the third quarter for 92 yards in the third quarter. That's more than half of the yards that Josh Allen threw for in the second half. I sit there and I'm like, I feel so bad for guys like Deshaun Watson. I'm watching him against the Bears. I'm like, man, he don't got no targets to throw the damn ball to. He took away DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, that's how lucky you are to have a guy like Stephon Diggs on your team that can make big plays like that to energize your unit.
Well, 10 catches, 130 yards, and a touchdown last night was a night. I mean, he was a dynamic force for Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings. Whatever issues went on with Rick Spielman and the general manager of Minnesota and the team, he certainly felt that he wanted to get out of there. He made it loud and clear. He's landed in a good spot in Buffalo, and I hope he continues to have that success that he's having.
Zubin, I do want to say this, though. I do want to give their defense some credit. The Bills actually produced points off their defense for the first time since 2017. Bravo to them for doing that on that pick six.
No question about it, and it looks like they're certainly going to be winning the AFC East. We'll see how far they can go. Quite a remarkable achievement. The team had missed the playoffs for 17 straight years. They have such a passionate fan base that right now can't join them, but they've made the playoffs 2 of the last 3, haven't been able to get over the hump and win one of those 2 playoff games, but it certainly feels like they'll be the favorite heading in at this particular point. Want to mention one thing, maybe it's just 2020, maybe just a sign of the times. Before the game, you may have seen Juju Smith-Schuster was dancing on the Bills logo at midfield. He posted the video to TikTok in a 2020 move, and you better believe Jordan Poyer and the rest of the Bills defense took notice of that, and if they needed any extra motivation, you've heard it before, people dancing on the Star in Dallas. Well, they were dancing on the Buffalo Head there in Orchard Park, and it turned out that the Steelers took the head off the Bills took the heads off the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're asking on the Dr. Pepper Twitter feed who's the biggest threat to the Chiefs in the AFC. Jay kind of put his mark in there with Buffalo. Be a part of the Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin Nation on the Dr. Pepper Twitter feed. ESPN Nation presented by Dr. Pepper. It's official. College football's back. So is your favorite Dr. Pepper-loving college football town, Fansville. Head to a store near you to treat your inner college football fan to an ice-cold 20-ounce Dr. Pepper today. The front office insider Mike Tannenbaum will join us this morning on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line in 20 minutes. Of course, we will discuss the Eagles. And on the way, the biggest question surrounding the Birds. After what Jalen Hurts did yesterday, why won't Doug Peterson name him the starter for their game this coming Sunday? We'll get into that and what he said after Jay has this.
Doug Peterson. It's time for some straight talk. Look, we all drop our phones. It happens. You fumble it, crack it, splash it. Well, Straight Talk Wireless now offers this new Platinum Unlimited plan that includes phone protection. Just $65 a month for unlimited talk, text,